This is Nothing But Rugby with Kevin Hine. We are going to go straight into these exclusive interviews with BT Shea, head coach of North High School Boys Rugby in Denver, Colorado. This is Nothing But Rugby. I'm joined by BT Shea. We're going over the way too early Week 3 Pickems. Brendan, the floor is yours.
Well, Kevin, it is way too early in Week 3. Typically, when you're picking games, when you're putting money down on teams, you want to see lineups, temperatures, wind, everything. But what we have are Week 1 and 2 results. So we'll go with that, move forward. Now, I want to put out a blanket statement right here. We can make all the assumptions we want, but it's very clear. No one, pundit or amateur fan, can accurately predict or handicap these games early on in the season. And we got a good reason for this. In the off-season, teams experience levels of recycle and change. We have 3 brand new franchises, and of the 9 others, most of them went under a significant change or brought in additional firepower to already strong rosters. So we're seeing a lot of changing, a lot of morphing. Coaches don't know who their best players are. Players don't know what that chemistry is like yet. So don't take anything we say as set in stone, because if Week 1 and 2 taught us anything, it's the only thing we know is that we don't know anything at all. That being said, let's hop into this week's board. And we're going to throw out a couple gambling glossary. We're going to throw out a couple of gambling glossary terms. The board is basically a presentation of all the games that are available for betting. So if they're taking wagers on a game, that means the game's up on the board. Otherwise, it's off the board. And right now what we're seeing is most betting sites aren't putting MLR games on the board because they don't know enough about it. They're not really sure on where to set the lines, but that's what our job is. So let's talk Week 1. We got our Colorado Raptors hosting the NOLA Gold at Infinity Park. And Kevin, you know this more than anybody. It's hard to play up at altitude, right?
Very difficult.
Out here for Rugby Town last year, and people get sucking wind really early. Now, the Raptors are at the bottom of the table, but I'm not counting them out ever at home, okay? We play in this altitude. You know how hard it is to close out the second half if you're coming the day before and trying to climatize. So let me throw you a couple stats at you. Since MLR inception, the Raptors at Infinity Park are 12 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. NOLA, on the other hand, has traveled twice to Infinity Park and come up short both times. They're 0-2. Now, originally we'd say, okay, NOLA got off to a great start and then came down in Week 2 with a loss, and the Raptors are dead last in the table. I think naturally the fans are going to say that NOLA is the favorite. But there's just something to that home field advantage with the Raptors being 12 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. So I'm going to put this line at NOLA, a 5.5-point favorite. But that being said, I think there's value picking the Raptors at home. It's really hard to climatize. I know I'm repeating myself here, but you can have the most fit team in the world, and let's face it, if there's less oxygen in the air, it's hard to breathe. So, do you think that the Colorado Raptors can either win it outright or win within a margin of 5.5? What do you got?
So watching NOLA take on ATL, it was prevalent to me that, yeah, they're sound in their set pieces, but I think they got beat by youth and fitness. I'm not going to go too much into their PAX free play and led by Cam Dolan or lack thereof, but I loved what I saw the Colorado Raptors doing against San Diego. I know they have 2 losses in a row right now, but I think Ranger had an interesting game plan of his constant blitzing. I like Micah Fruz's big play, big risk blitzes, and I really like the aggression. I think Colorado's going to figure it out. I have Colorado by 5.
There you go. Wow, so you're picking them outright.
Outright.
With a couple points.
With a couple.
So we like that value. We like the Raptors as technically a home underdog, but I think they're going to shine through here and pull away. And again, I'm not devaluing NOLA because of their prior performances. I just think they haven't really left the South yet in this preseason. They had a local derby with Houston and 2 home matches to start the year. So this is their first business trip. And while they are professionals, teams usually have some things to iron out when traveling the first time: time zones, travel lag, which playlist to get up in your pregame. So they'll figure it out, but expect Colorado to have some value here at home. Now, our next game, and quite frankly, both of these franchises have underperformed since inception. The Austin Gilgronis host the Utah Warriors.
Gilgronis? I thought it was the Jabronis.
Oh, no. And Kevin, let me tell you something right now. No professional team based in Austin, Texas, that has won an MLR game since June 1st, 2018, against the Utah Warriors, of all people. So the Austin Elite, the Austin Herd, the Gilgronis, nobody's getting wins in Austin. They really need this one. It could not be stressed anymore. You got to break this losing streak. I mean, come on. You haven't won at home since June 1st, 2018. They got to get it done. Now, Utah have some lethal attacking prowess, but they're completely unpredictable. I do want to give a shout out to Gannon Moore, who rounded into some decent form at Sam Boyd Stadium as they held off the Free Jacks team from starting 2-0. But he's finding the pace that pushed him into last year's Eagles selection pool. And by the way, he used to be a flanker. So props to any rugby player that can move from the forward pack into the backs and vice versa. But I'm sure we'll get into that a little more when we talk about Bassero.
Oh, absolutely.
Gannon Moore's a player. Utah has that firepower. I'm saying they are a favorite on the road, and I'm only putting it at 4.5 because I don't know why, but part of me just wants this Gilgroni team to get a win. I think I'm using a little bit of my emotion here, but let's say Utah's a favorite by 4.5. I'm picking them to win the game and cover the spread.
I really like your pick, and for the exact same reasons, I'm taking Utah by 5. With Austin Gilgronis, I see what they're doing there. I see the changes they've made. I see what Andrew Suniula is doing with the substitutions, and I really love Austin's bench. What I don't love is their tight 5. What I don't love is their unreliable locks. And what I do love about Utah is their tight 5 and their reliable locks. John Colin has that pack firing on all cylinders. I think they have a great work engine. I think both teams have a lot of playmakers in the back line, and that this game's going to come down to the performance of the tight 5. And not so much in the set pieces, but the performance of the tight 5's work rates in the rucks, in the tackles, in the trenches, where things get done. So I'm taking Utah outright by 5.
Type 5 guy. We got Gus McClellan, hell of a scrummager for Utah. He's back, reloaded in year 3. He's an original Utah Warrior from the get-go. Now, I got a little over-under for you on this game. Over-under the number of online complaints of either the Gilgroni's name, their jerseys, or branding. Let's put it at 45 online complaints while this game goes out. Kevin, will the rugby community just ever accept that the Gilgronis are the Gilgronis, or are we going to keep bitching and whining about it?
The Gilgronis, it's a Texas-sized cocktail, and if rugby players in America can't get behind a rugby-sized, Texas-sized cocktail at Austin while watching some fine rugby, well, who needs them? I'm all in on the Gilgronis name change. I like the Aussie Bastards' decision to do it. Go Loyal LLC. Gilgronis it is. I accept it. I'm taking the under on those complaints because if I accept it, I think America will accept it.
Hell yeah. We're watching you online. No more complaining. It is what it is, the branding. We're moving on. We got the Houston SaberCats, Texas's other team, or should I say Texas's team, against the Old Glory DC, OG DC. They're going to host them in Aviva. Now, both teams are 1-1. Meanwhile, Houston's held up Maul away from winning in the desert, but they leave really well positioned in the West to do some damage this season. Meanwhile, DC opens up, gets completely throttled, then comes back, wins their home opener. They sold it out as well. In a game where, quite frankly, I just saw that the star in the MLR, Tendai Mtawarira, was named on the first All-15 team. I didn't think he played that well. I thought he held his own in the scrum, but my God, I mean, weren't we all expecting the Springbok to just completely bend people over backwards?
Yeah.
I thought he looked like a good prop in the MLR. Obviously, we'll give him some time to warm up. But this is a tough call. What's your gut telling you right now. Both teams 1-1 headed to Houston.
After watching the Beast play against Seattle, if you watch the first 2 minutes, Beast gets the ball for a tone-setting carry, and he does a double hop into contact, not even lowering his shoulder. He double hops, fools no man, and he gets tackled one-on-one. Not the performance they want from him. I've seen him folded over in a scrum now, and, he's not living up to it. He's not living up to it, in my opinion. Now, this Houston SaberCats squad, they have their own stadium in Aviva. I think they have an executive executive board that really is looking out for this team and is building them for the future. They've been around since year one, and in this third year, I think they have put it together. DeRoost is a fantastic scrum half. They got playmakers all over, and they have a pack that hustles. I have Houston by 5 over Old Glory.
Nice. That's a good line. I put it at Houston 6.5-point favorites, and I'm taking the favorites at home to cover that spread. Now, since the SaberCats got walloped by the Seawolves in the infamous tear it up opening game at Aviva, the Cats are 3-0 at home. So, we'll see where it goes. But, I hope all people can appreciate the humor in this. They completely tore their sod to shred. And now this year, the team hashtag is hashtag tear it up. So I hope they're poking fun at themselves. It's a good hashtag. We'll keep it rolling in Houston. I went down for the opener. Shout out to old Taylor Howden. Put me up, showed me a good time. They got the Cat Den there, their little bar. They had a live band. They're doing things right down in Aviva. Give me the Cats to win at home against Old Glory. Now, Kevin, this brings us into a repeat of last year's semifinal. The Seattle Seawolves host the Toronto Arrows at Starfire. Now, if we look at the table, we see those two-time defending champs sitting there at 0-2. I'm not worried for even a minute, okay? Since MLR inception, Seattle is 10-2-1 at home, and one of those games being a semifinal win against those Arrows last year where, quite frankly, it was never really close. They really gave it to them. Now, again, the table means very little this early on in the season. Typically, we look at records and say Toronto's a heavy favorite, but I'm not falling for that momentous assumption here. Remember, the only thing we know is we know nothing. That being said, it's very hard to deny Toronto's scoring prowess, and we've seen some cracks in that seawall defense so far. Let's call Seattle a 3-point home dog. And for your fans at home, anytime we refer to dogs, we're talking about underdogs. Now, bettors love home underdogs. There's just something about a team at home. Sometimes they play out of their shoes. So I'm going ahead and taking those Seawolves at home, 3-point underdogs. Give me the Seawolves to cover that spread, potentially win it outright.
Absolutely. Best home fans, best team in the MLR the last 2 years. There's no way you can't take them as a underdog. Would you call it a home team underdog? What's your roof? Home dogs. There's no way you can't take the Seawolves as home dogs this week. I have Seattle by 5.
All right, nice. Moving on. Now, for me, this is actually the toughest one to call. We got Rugby ATL, the Rattlers, hosting Rugby United New York, the Rooney Roosters. It's going to be at Lupo Family Field at Life University. Now, results-wise, ATL seems unproven. They've come out with 2 massive wins. But am I biting this momentum train? I think I'm actually going to take a couple bites of this momentum train here. Because my boots on the ground correspondent, Harpo in Marietta, Georgia, he tells me that home field environment is absolutely electric. And Kevin, we got to give props to my man Jeremy Misano, aka the Missile. He's straight up balling. His DNA was all over the Rattlers' attack against NOLA. He bagged some meat, got in the try zone, and assisted the game-sealing try. So my boy Missile's balling out. Follow him on Instagram. He's a big boomerang guy, so plenty of boomerangs coming from him each day. But now, this isn't a dog on Rooney. They have a potential attack, but 83 points in 2 games. I mean, clearly there's a defensive issue that Greg McWilliams has to fix. Let's say that ATL is a 6-point favorite at home. Where are you falling on that line?
Choo choo! I am all aboard the momentum train with ATL.
He's getting on the train.
I'm getting on the train. I was on the train last week, all right? When I predicted them to win by 2 and had your boy the Missile not mugged that man. Give me the rye, you old bag. Had he not mugged her.
That's when you try and run it out of your zone, man.
That's what happens. And had that not happened, I would have called the spread perfect. I had ATL by 2. Now with Rooney, the defensive, they let up a lot of points. I really don't like how much they let up on the scoreboard against teams like Austin and then that loss they had to the Free Jacks. So I'm taking ATL by 12. I am all aboard the Choo Choo Express, the Momentum Express, and I love the way these Harley brothers are playing winger. They love work. They are a couple of blue-collar backs that love to find work. They get into it. They mix it up. This team executes. This team executes their game plan to a T, and when creativity sets in and they're counterattacking, they're moving, they all respond. They are gelling. They have chemistry. I really like this squad. I really like their identity. And man, Matt Heaton is an absolute workhorse at the 7. He might be the best 7 in MLR right now. This guy's work rate for 80 minutes, he is the same in the first 5 as the last 5. I am a huge fan of Rugby ATL, and they are my dark horse to win it all down the stretch.
Hell yeah. I'm feeling ATL and Toronto in the East, but we got to see how the season shifts out. I mean, Rooney certainly has that Irish pipeline there. So right now we're seeing some injuries in the loose forwards. I think they're going to get backfilled there. But Kevin, we got to talk about it. I got a good old prop bet for us. Now, for the rest of the season, I want to know how many backs will move into the forward pack and how many forwards will move into the back line. So far, in 2 weeks, we actually have 2 players who have done it. Sam Slade shifted out to the centers from the loosies when Colorado was down on injuries the opening weekend. And, of course, he's getting dragged because of his tight jersey around his belly. But Big Basta, Mathieu Bestero, has moved to number 8. Now, in my opinion, I think everybody's being a little critical on the guy, okay? He just got to America. He's trying all this new nice cuisine. So what if he's a little overweight? As long as he keeps doing his job. Now, the tape he put out in the first 2 games isn't so great. But his team needed a loose forward, and he slotted into 8, and you can cue all the chubby jokes you want, but don't forget that this is a cap European player, so let's put a little respect on that name. What do you think? Over, under 6 total players making the back or forward switch. We're already 2 in.
In the whole season?
Yeah, the whole season.
I would take over on that. Just the way lineups work, injuries occur, players step up, and sometimes you just got to put your best boy, your best back on the field, even if it is at loose forward. Now, obviously, we're not going to see any backs make a switch over into the tight 5. That'd be, well, except I would take a prop bet that by the end of this season, that fat Frenchman is moving into tight head or loose head. I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen. He's walking around 6 foot 285, and we know he can push. But
well, I mean,
the over on.
What they want to do is win in New York, and right now they're 1-1. But this would be a huge win for them on the road. I'm actually going to pick New York to cover this 6-point spread. They may win flat out, but I like Rooney plus 6.
I like Rooney being really capable of scoring points. I don't think you're a fool for taking that. What we all know is that we know nothing.
Exactly. And we know there's big holes in that defense. To wrap up, we got a game that I think this is actually the easiest one to handicap because it's the one you can actually overreact to. And the San Diego Legion at home hosting the New England Free Jacks. Let me just let the fans know right now what kind of nightmare schedule New England's dealing with to open up the season. For 2 weeks, they fly out in Vegas. They train in Vegas. And trust me, Sam Boyd Stadium ain't easy on the body.
No, it's not.
Dry, hard turf. They fly back to Boston after the game. Couple training sessions under the bubble. Now they're flying back to San Diego to play the best team in the league right now. Then they're going to stay in San Diego all week fly to Seattle, and play the two-time defending champs. So, I like to think of the season as, a business. You got quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four, each with 4 games. So I don't think anybody has a harder Q1 than New England Free Jacks, but they're 1-1 right now, and if they steal another game, Coach Josh Smith will be real happy. Even if they go 1-3 to start, I say don't count them out because this travel schedule is just insane. But they're going to get a ton of home games on the back end. Right now, all that being said, though, Legion are the best team in the league. It's showed on the film. I think we're going to stick with the sure commodity there. I'd say they're 12.5-point favorites.
I don't disagree. I say for the exact same reasons. I did not know about that rough schedule New England was taking on. But yeah, that's definitely going to play a part. Being separated from your family for so long and not getting that quality time, and then the recovery with all this travel. It's very hard to recover the body. So, man, those home games in the long stretch are going to be very valuable to the Free Jacks. But opening up like that, it's some adversity to overcome, and especially against back-to-back weeks, you're playing, the two MLR, the top teams in the MLR the last 2 years. And
exactly.
San Diego.
We can say that Seattle's 0-2, but come on, they're not an easy win by any means. I don't think anybody will ever say that. And yeah, it's going to be tough on that New England Free Jack team. But man, Bowden Walker, he's got hot feet, man. I love it. In week 1, he was just turning guys around left and right. So we'll see what this team can do, but I'm sticking with the Legion. I think they're going to cover 12.5. Prove me wrong, Free Jacks, but man, that's a grueling schedule to start. Now, who you got? Legion, 12.5-point favorites at home, hosting the New England Free Jacks.
I have San Diego by 10. I'm a huge fan of that back line.
Okay, so you're going to go ahead and say that the Free Jacks will be smart money here with 12.5-point line. You would sprinkle some money on the Free Jacks to cover that spread.
Yes, absolutely. I think the Free Jacks can keep it close. They maintain possession really well. They're solid on their set pieces. Tag leader is an outstanding fly half that is going to control and execute the game plan. Their pack is well run. I like walkout in the outside center position. I do. Yeah, I would 100% take them beating the spread of 12.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last year, Nick Boyer and Nate Osberger, I've never seen 2 players that can both play scrum half and wing, and they kind of just changed in and out. So it was interesting to see them actually go against each other last weekend. Osberger getting the better, but they moved Boyer out to wing. He's going to be a super, super important person for the Raptors going forward. But
yep.
Yeah, man, the only thing we know is that we know nothing. And right now, if I'm just going to run back through my winners, I got Colorado Raptors, home dogs. Give me them covering 5.5-point spread. Utah Warriors to win at home, 4.5 points. Houston SaberCats to win at home, 6.5 points. I got Seattle, another home dog, and they're going to cover at least 3 points. Give me Rooney, an underdog on the road, to cover 6.5, and the San Diego Legion, front runners in the league. The only thing we really, really know for sure is that they're freaking good. And Malanonu is worth every penny so far. But it's early, Kevin. It's early. We're still halfway through quarter 1. So the table's super exciting. I cannot wait this week to watch the games. Everybody's been shitting on the broadcast here and there, but hey, that's the fun part about an early league is some of the shitty production value. I find it humorous.
I think the broadcasting's improving weekly. I mean, I think it took a huge step up from week 1 to week 2, and I hope it continues to grow, continues to develop. Because those translators of the sport to the American public right now are so critical, so crucial to this sport taking off here.
Yeah, and Harp always says, if you want to grow the game, you got to be willing to explain to some idiot next to you every painstaking rule. But I'll always throw my hand up to do that. It's part of growing the game, and the fact is, we need non-rugby fans to come out and pay for tickets and support the teams for this thing to work.
And become rugby fans, because rugby's awesome. And if you like sports, you'll like rugby.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you having me on, Kevin. man, like I said, they're the way too early lines. And typically what would happen in Vegas is they put out the lines right in the beginning of the week. They'd accept some bets, take some action. It's another little glossary word for your listeners. If you're putting action on a game, if bookmakers are seeing a lot of action on a game, it means a lot of bets are coming in. And then the lines will kind of adjust based on what people are betting. So let's say people, went heavy on that Colorado Raptors home dog thing. Maybe that line would come down quite a bit. But obviously we're not Vegas. We just pretend to be. So I appreciate you having me on. And, can't wait to watch week 3.
BT, you were an absolute pleasure to have on. I look forward to having you again next week to hear your Pickems. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Pick 'em.
Be sure to visit superbrew.com and make all your selections. Tune in next week to hold us accountable for these selections and check out our next week's selections. Join hundreds of rugby enthusiasts on Superbrew and make your own matchup predictions. Visit rugbypickem.com and listen to Rugby Pickem podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. And follow Nothing But Rugby on Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to my channel. Give your link on YouTube. Cheers.